Ni hao, guten tag, assalamu alaikum. Hola, como esta? What's up? How y'all doing? And welcome to Brat Life TV. I'm your host, Adrian D.C. Dre Johnson. And let me start by saying I'm a brat, a Nuremberg Eagle and an Augsburg Apache. And if some of the viewers are not familiar with the schools I just mentioned, they're cities in Germany. That's right, I said Germany. And if you're wondering, how did he get this 10 schools in Germany? I was a brat. My father was in the military like hundreds of thousands of other children's parents and guardians that worked in the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines. We didn't ask for that experience, but we lived it. So today, we'll call this episode Professional Artists, because our future guest is a performing artist, a USA Armed Forces soldier, a rapper, a producer, a Germany Grammy Award winner, a performer, a father, my brother, Burnell Keys Herring Jr. The viewers know Burnell as AK Swift. What's going on, bro?
What it do, man? How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How's everything over in Germany?
Everything is good, man. I relaxed this whole week. I really needed a break. I took some time and, me being a grandpa, and with my granddaughter chilling, having fun, her messing up my house.
That's what's up. That's
You
what's
know how
up.
it is, right? But every millisecond of it, I enjoyed it, man. So, yeah, I'm relaxing, chilling, man. Doing some things for the future,
So,
right?
so,
And, yeah, go ahead.
oh no. So go ahead. What you say?
No, I wasn't going to say nothing. I was going to babble.
So, so let me.
By the way, you know what I'm saying, representing us being here in Germany, those who went to school here was stationed here too. I was both of them, a brat and a soldier. So, as a typical form,
Oh yeah.
all right?
Is that the fest? Are we at the October Fest right now?
You know what I'm talking about? The Stein, bro.
Hey, so tell the viewers who Burnell Keys Herring Jr., aka AK Swift, is.
Born and raised on the south side of Chicago. My father, after him being a prison guard, right, he became a scout in the military at first. Then after that, he went military police, right? And through that, right, we had managed to be able to go to a lot of places, of course. Those was influences on what I've done, because in many places I was at, especially his first duty station in Colorado, the same place was his last duty station when he had retired, right? You see a lot of different things. You see a lot of stuff. First time we was over there in Colorado in Springs, right? Kid, 70 years old. That's when I first started Star Wars, when Star Wars came out.
Right.
Right? I was 7, right? But when we got stationed in Colorado again, that was in Aurora, Colorado, but his workplace was in Denver, and he was military police.
MP.
Right? Yeah, MP. Right? And that's when I started getting into instruments and stuff. That's when I started learning at 11 years old. I started learning the viola. That was my favorite instrument.
So
right?
at 11, not to cut you off, but at 11 years old, that's when you started learning classical music.
Learning classical music. I was actually interested in rapping when I was a year younger, right? When I saw the Sugar Hill Gang on TV.
Oh.
Yeah, they was on TV. They did Rappers Delight.
Okay.
Right? I'm like, ooh, I like that.
Right.
Right. But actually, I was always interested in music, 9 years old, because my mom and dad was like beatniks.
Okay.
Back in the day, you know what I'm saying? That they had to have music.
Right.
We had compilations of movie soundtracks, this and that and other and everything, right? And I would sit there at the record player back in the day called the component set.
Right. That's when you could put the 45 or the
right above each other.
Yeah. All you need is a little connection piece. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that, you know what I'm saying? They had that little ridges and stuff.
Yeah.
I got you, man. When the record was finished, keep on going.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I was listening to all kinds of stuff, right? Some of these people.
Did you have the compartment where you could put the 8-track in it? Hey,
Man, we had that in the car and at home.
Right, that was the first cassette and the 8-track.
No doubt, no doubt.
Hey, we telling
Still
our
has the
age
best
right
sound
now.
quality. Still has the best sound quality of any tape made.
Yeah?
The 8-tracks, oh
Yeah. No doubt.
yeah, man. But through that, right, that's when everything started elevating. Because my father was already in the military, then he had got out. Then he was like, you know what, I'm going back in. Right? Because, the things had changed as far as payment for people that was in the military, right? There was more support, health support, whatnot, and everything. Look, he went back in. After that, we went to Colorado again. Then after Colorado, Germany.
Right. So, but
that's where everything started coming out.
So what instruments did you play as a classical artist?
First, the viola.
Okay.
Right? And then the second year, I was so into it, right, as a kid, that I started experimenting with the rest of them. Violin, cello, contrabass.
Okay.
Right? And I actually
bass?
performed in concerts, well, as a kid, school concerts, right, playing every instrument.
So you did the stand-up bass?
No, I did that, but I only did that for like one concert, right? I'm like, yeah, that's too much. Why? Because I didn't have the instrument at home.
Right.
Here we go.
Right.
So you had to take it home and practice.
Right.
I ain't carrying that. As a kid, I'm like, I ain't carrying that. But even though I didn't master it, right, but I was very familiar with all the instruments. But my main instrument was the viola.
Okay. So
in Germany, they call it bratsche.
So you from Chi-Town?
Yep. So
what part of Chi-Town?
From the block, baby.
What part of Chi-Town are you from?
South side.
South
on the block. Inglewood, baby.
Okay. So that's Vice Lord's disciple area.
All them cats over there, man. Back in the day when I was a kid, El Rookins, man, Latin Kings.
Yeah, the El Rookins.
You know what I'm saying? Along with it. They changed over the years, 400 hustlers, this and that, other, whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
The El Rookins used to have it on Smash and Shy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No doubt.
The disciples, yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So did you go to high school in Chicago?
No, I didn't go to high school in Chicago, but I ended up going to high school in Rockford, Illinois, right outside of it.
Oh, okay.
Right, because the areas where we had family, this and that and other, right? And I wanted to go to those schools. I went to Dunbar High School for like 2 months. The same high school that what I understand, man, that Mr. T went to. My aunt, my daughter's namesake Cleo, also went there. Right, but my mom and dad was like, nah, man. Right, and I ended up going to Rockford East High School in Rockford, Illinois. Which luckily I could continue me still being playing in the orchestra. I went from the first semester to the second semester from concert orchestra to symphony orchestra. Right, because later on, my mom and dad for my 14th birthday they got me a viola. So I stayed in practice.
What's up?
Yeah.
So when did you move to Germany?
Oh, as an adult, is when I in the military.
Well, when you was as a brat.
No, as a brat, 1982. My father got stationed over here.
And
military police in Frankfurt and not lie. Hold up a second. Right downtown where the whole main thing was at. What was the name of it? It's now a university. It'll come to me.
Right.
It'll come to me. Right. But that was a nice spot. Right. That concern, what they call over here in Germany, right, took care.
So y'all lived on the economy or did you live on post?
Housing area.
Okay.
Gibbs housing area.
Housing area was you in?
Gibbs housing area.
Gibbs? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was actually not far from the junior high school from Frankfurt.
Okay. So was it a culture shock?
Abrams concern. I knew it. I was going to say the Abrams concern in Frankfurt.
Abrams concern? Okay. So was it a culture shock when you got there?
Not really, right? Because how my parents was, right, it was like any move was an experience, but at the same time, we was already warned, so it didn't really shock us. You know what I'm saying? Me and my sister. And then later on, another sister that's actually born in Frankfurt.
Wow.
Yeah, my younger sister's born in Frankfurt.
What's up?
Yeah.
So you went to Frankfurt. Did you go to Frankfurt High School?
Yeah, and played football for him.
Okay, you're an Eagle, Frankfurt Eagle.
Yeah, you know what's up.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
when you said Eagle, I was hold back, hold back.
yeah.
Hold back. We got
I'm
a bunch of
Nuremberg
Eagles,
Eagle.
man. Now Wiesbaden has the Eagles from Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the school moved from there, from Frankfurt, right when everything closed down, right after the Saudi War and all this other
After
stuff.
they changed to Euros.
Yeah. Huh?
After they changed to Euros.
Yeah. After that, no. They was already starting that after Desert Storm.
Really?
Yeah, man. But
Okay.
everybody officially completely closed down that wanted to be closed down. I would say about 2007.
Mm.
Yeah. But it was a long process after Desert Storm. No
So
doubt.
while in Frankfurt, you met D-Ski and Scott Fresh.
Yeah, I met them when I was 14,
Okay.
right? And that was on Humbug actually, because I was already around my people, the floor masters,
Right.
right?
I was gonna ask you about that. So Flow Masters,
Yeah,
that
right.
was your
And then
breakdance
all
too,
of a
right?
sudden I met there. I was in Plotting. I had a girlfriend in Plotting back then, Plotting
Okay.
House and everything,
Okay.
right? And so when I was around there, all of a sudden it's like, yo, what's up? You remember that, that basement joint they used to have? He used to
Exactly. The
call it the
joint.
crib.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
joint.
the crib and then the joint. I remember
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And after I met Scotty, 'cause we was in class together. That's how I ended up being over there. And that's how I met D-Ski.
Okay.
'Cause we both was still in junior high school together.
Oh, you and Scotty.
Yeah.
So that's when y'all became the Floor Masters.
Actually, it comes from my housing area, right? When I
Yeah.
was in the Gibbs, right? The main people was definitely there. James Durden, one of the break dancers. The two leaders of them are both brothers. That's Alan Roski and Louis Panada.
Uh-huh.
Then you had Aaron Gallion, right? Me, I was in there, but not that long. Because I was playing football for high school where all of them was playing for another type of league called the Wolverines back then.
So that was the league. That's DY.
Yeah, that's two types. That's two types. Matter of fact, Tina Harris's father was the coach
Word.
for the Wolverines,
So what position you played?
defensive end.
Okay. Okay.
Even though I'm swift, I'd rather hit than get hit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right? They wanted me to be either a flanker or a receiver. I'm like,
Right.
nah, man, nah, I want hurt.
Right. You want to get your lick in. You don't
Yeah,
want
my
to.
first two games, I looked stupid. I ain't gonna lie. They had me on the line, this and that and other. And then after that, right, I challenged. I said, I want defensive end. Right? So he was like, yo, if you don't make it, you're off the team. Carl Williams, still got in contact with him. Right? And he said, you're off the team. I'm like, all right, did it. All of a sudden, man, it was boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, what other position you want? I said, I want defensive end. After that, I was killing it.
Right. So
Yeah.
when you was in the Floor Masters,
Yeah.
how many individuals was in the Floor Masters?
Wow. It got big after a while. I would estimate, and let me not lie, right? Because things went off and on, even because me doing other stuff. Right. I ended up having to lead the floor masters, right? So, right, because I was working a job, man, I always had to hustle. I was actually a babysitter, man. I was making good money.
Hey, get it how you
You
live,
know what I'm
baby.
saying?
How it come. You understand?
All right. And at the end, I would actually say it would have been about 10 members, minimum. I can name off a couple more. Mark Francis, which ended up changing this name to Starscream.
Starsky?
Yeah, DJ Starscream, right? Mark
Okay.
Francis. Who else? Not Lewis. Domingo Fabulous.
Okay.
Right. He was a turtle master,
Yeah.
Right. Who else?
That's the
Little
rock that.
Mikey. We had a little kid. I got to send it to you. Little Mikey. This dude was like 6, 7 years old.
Word?
Latino brother.
Wow.
Right. Had perfect body control. Louis Panada, right? And him, they did something, man. Hey, he did the windmill. And then all of a sudden stopped. And then little Mikey came in, right? He grabbed him and they did the windmill together. while he was holding him. Straight up. Lewis Smith on the windmill was no joke.
You did a windmill while he was holding him.
Holding him.
Wow.
All right, man. You know, and then let's not forget, all of our heroes back then was Rico Sparks, Edwin Lopez, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah, Rico.
Yeah, right, because he brought the game down.
So real quick, I could never get that windmill down, but I can get that turtle
I was good with it.
and all that. What was your go-to move?
My go-to move?
Yeah.
Right, from the windmill to a head spin, and then stop, man, with one hand going up.
For the handspring. Yeah.
And I was good at suicide. I used to do gymnastics. I tried to be in gymnastics teams, but there was none in the schools I went to.
Yeah, I used to do the handspring to the elbow, but I had to go straight into the backspin from there because I couldn't get the windmill. Yeah, no doubt.
You worked that out though.
Yeah,
I was great, and I was good at the turtle too.
Yeah, the turtle was the easiest one for me. You understand?
You know, the hardest one is the flying turtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, where your legs is up, man. You do, man. Hey, man. I was
you
killing
bouncing
myself
and you get in the bounce.
No. Yo, your legs is up, right? But your hands are in between your legs, right? It only lasts about like 3 seconds maximum. You can't do more than that.
Okay.
Right? And it was like a top. And I was trying to conquer shit.
Right.
And I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying, right? But I was like, I use that as part of the finishing move. Then you get in that pose.
Right.
Right? Because you can't do it too long. You can do a windmill all day if you got the strength.
Yeah, but see, I don't know. I couldn't get the time and the I don't know, man. I couldn't get that joint.
Right.
So Rico, you said Rico introduced breakdancing to Frankfurt?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Shout out to Rico Sparks, man.
My man, rest in peace. Word up. Together with Captain Hollywood, they actually released the first official hip hop track over here in Germany back then.
Wow.
Yeah, and we was all putting in work. But you know what's trippy about it is we was all having fun.
Yeah, no doubt. We
weren't looking for no record deals.
Not at all.
No, we just having fun.
Yeah, you know, just loving the culture of hip hop. You understand what I'm saying?
No doubt.
And it, I gotta give my hats off to Frankfurt, man. Frankfurt, like I said, was a baby New York to me. You know, that's where all my happiness came from with this music thing. You understand? So I got enough respect for Frankfurt, even though we the real Eagles over here. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So tell me about the ever loving MCs.
That's my boys and them. This is gonna mess you up. Right. I see episode 2 coming. Believe that. Right. Either way it goes, right. When I was in the States after we got stationed back in America, my dad, man, became a recruiter. Right. We was in the Rockford, Illinois area. That's the reason why I ended up going to the high school. I met 2 guys in school, white dudes. Right. Eric Freeze, he went by the name of Easy V. And Steve Gilliam, he went by the name of Sneaky Snake. These 2 could freestyle their asses off. Matter of fact, think I'm lying. Easy V, I'll send a link. Right, so you can see his Facebook page or whatever. Right, he looked like Marshall Mathers back in high school.
Not ever there.
No joke. It had me thinking for a minute, is it? But no, for real, these 2 could, both of them could freestyle their ass. We did nothing about. I was a DJ.
Right.
Right, but I was writing a couple of songs once in a while, write some shit. You like it? Yeah, they use it. But outside of that, you can't mess with them, man. Freestyle, forget about it.
So you started out as a DJ?
For group, when I went back to the States, yeah.
Okay.
First time over here in Germany, though, the first time I was ever on the microphone, that was in Homecoming, 1984. Right, and dude, I ain't gonna lie, I was shy. Right. D-Ski was DJing it. D-Ski. Homecoming. D-Ski. Right. And I'm like, he's like, you want the mic? He'll call you out in a minute.
Right.
Like, you want the mic? I was like, and I was behind the speakers rapping. Mo was like, yo. I'm like, but from behind the speakers, like,
Right, Nick Noy.
they like it. And I got up there and he started doing it right there. He was like, yo, my prom date was like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And I mean, I'm still in contact with my date to this day.
No
But
doubt.
yeah, man, hey, I couldn't believe it, man. It was like, people was like, that was my first real start. D-Ski, as far as me rapping on the mic, he gave me my first opportunity to be in front of Harry.
Believe it or not, as far as with the records and the record deal and boy and all that, D and Scotty and Pete was the ones that unleashed that for me. You understand? The opportunity for me.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? I was just a battle rapper, freestyle rapper, come to a party, get some attention from the females, and get off the stage. That's what it was for me. Yeah. So you went into a service in 1988.
No, I was actually there before then, right? I went to what they call that advanced training at first, right, with the National Guard in Rockford, Illinois. Then after that, I went into basic training, everything like that in '87, and the whole kit. Then after that, I waited a year, right, because I had a lot of things I was doing at home, and then after that, right, I'm not going full-time Army, right, because you can choose where you get stationed at.
Right.
So I took advantage of that, right? And I came back to Germany. Almost everybody I went to school with was still there. I was in heaven.
Wow. So what branch of the Army was you in?
Excuse me, I was infantry. Morse. Yeah.
So when you came back, you still had classmates over there, so you ain't miss a beat.
It was on, man. It was on. Hey, shoot. As soon as I got there, after the processing station, I was at the spot right to where you have to stay there for a couple of days and then they'll send you to a spot where you need to be at. Right. I was there and guess what? In Frankfurt at Drake Edwards Concern. Where part of the movie Elvis Presley did. Here comes the funny part. Right, G.I. Blues. Right. Here comes the funny part. I got stationed in Shreveport, where he used to be stationed at, and exactly the same company from Elvis Presley. And it was down the street from me, right in another company, Turbo Beach from Snap.
Wow.
No joke.
If y'all not familiar with Turbo Beat, I'm sure you're familiar with the group Snap. I Got the Power. That's who he's referring to when he say Turbo Beat from Snap, which also is a brat and out of Frankfurt. So we'll be looking to get that interview too, Turbo. But yeah, so how long did you serve in the service?
4 years.
4 years?
Right, because when I got back to Germany, I was mad. I was going to say another word. I was mad. Why? It's because, and I knew it was going to happen. Everybody I went to school with blew up.
Yeah, we was already.
You know what I'm saying? They blew up because we was all concentrated back then. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't got to worry about no good, this and that, other, right? You have a good time, man, being in a foreign country, away from anything negative, right? Everybody went for it. Matter of fact, 2 pages right next to each other, right? 4 of us made it famous in the yearbook.
Right.
Me, Tina Harris, right? Because we all have the H at the end of our name.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Our family name, right? And so it was Tina Harris, right? Sweet Box, Pete Haynes worldwide, me worldwide, but you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Right? And the other one, right, used to work for CNN.
Then you still had D-Ski, you had Scotty, you had
but that's the other pages.
Right.
I'm just saying 2 pages.
Just on your page,
I
yeah.
ain't my brothers and sisters at all.
Yeah, no doubt.
Me, man.
No doubt.
Man, but it was like, it's a trip. I even posted a couple of times. People was like, wow.
Yeah, no doubt. That was real. Like I said, it was jumping in Frankfurt. You understand? But first I would like to thank you for serving in the service for us. Salute, bro. You understand?
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah. So you got stationed in Germany. Tell me more about that.
Oh, well, you know what I'm saying? At that time, right, they had a club called the Central Studio that was down the street. Right, everybody went down there. It was a very multicultural club. Nobody was tripping on this, that, and other, unless somebody get too drunk or whatever. You know how that goes.
Right.
But outside of that, right, everybody's having a good time with each other. Freiburg's a small city. Right, even though it has cities next door to it, real close, right, you can also have a good time. No, everybody always went to the Central Studio back then. right? And if you had skills, right, because the DJs always was looking for a rapper,
Right.
right? So it's like when I came there one night, I was in there chilling. You know how I go, man. I'm young, man. I'm trying to holler at some honeys or whatever. And all of a sudden, it was like, "You want to grab the mic?" I was like,
Yeah.
I went up there. All of a sudden, after that, it was like, "Yo, I make music. Oh, I make music. I make music. I make music." But how I got really connected to those people was after I did that rap, right that night. I'm going back to the barracks and stuff, right? I'm chilling, man. I'm going to sleep, getting up in the morning, do my. And a cook came to me. A cook. He was rapping also, too. He was rapping also, right? And I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" This and that. And he was living in the barracks, too. So,
Right.
yeah, we hollering and stuff, right? And he was like, "Yo, I want to introduce you to some people." Just so happened, the DJ that let me on that night, man, is one of them,
Right.
right? Next thing you know, right, I'm laying demos, whatnot, having freestyle battles and stuff. Hey, yeah,
So you made your record debut in 1991 with the techno trance project True Minds.
True Minds featuring BK Swift, right? I'll call the Underground Prophet.
Okay. And the single was the Underground Prophet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that as a debut album?
The debut single, but it didn't go big, but I got a lot of recognition though from that. Even the magazines started talking. You know what I'm saying? That said a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
So did you get a tour or anything with that? Or you just
Now, I had my crew, the Black Angels, which half of them I went to school with.
right.
Tony Rebel X Washington, may he rest in peace. Otis Cute Pay, D Flame, also a German rapper, right? Ebony Prince, German rapper. Pete Mello, German rapper. Singer, Razor, Desiree, Stephanie, the mother of my two youngest children, was also a female rapper. I was writing for her,
Okay.
right? And
You a little ghost writing, huh?
man, she went by the name of Miss Wrong.
She was my
Miss Right and Miss Wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. Their group was called the First Class Preaching Witches.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So
I'm a grandfather.
did you get a chance to work with Tina though? Tina Harris?
A couple of times, right? Because we was working with the same producers for a while.
Right. Shout out
Right.
Tina
It was
Harris. I need that interview,
my
Tina.
girl, man. That's my girl, man.
Yeah. Need that
Straight up.
interview. So your big break, 94, what was the name of the project?
Magic Affair.
Magic Affairs. And that's the song titled Omen 3, right?
Yep.
Which
And
was
actually,
number
there's a
one on
big
the
history
German chart.
behind that.
Huh?
There's a big history behind that, right? Because you got to ask, why Omen 3?
Right.
Right. We were first called MA, right? Which was after a group that made the first Omen 1 and 2, right? They were called Mysterious Arts. But for some reason, regarding conflicts, I had nothing to do with it. I was just rapping.
Right.
Right. So conflicts regarding the producers from the original 1 and 2, they came with, it was like, okay, MA is too like Mysterious Art, which don't make no sense. It's stupid. MA is MA, Mysterious Arts, Mysterious Arts. Right. Either way it goes, right? It went to, at the end of the day, they call it Magic Affair. Right. And let me tell you something, Omen 3 went through the roof.
Right. I see it went number 1 in the German charts. What was and then it went number 5 in Israel and number 18 in the UK. And the top one and the top 10 in all of Europe wide.
Yeah. But officially, right, it depends on the date when it was posted.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But at the end of the day, right, 2009, right, we found out we're number 26 of the top 100 of all time.
So what was that feeling?
Germany. I ain't gonna sit up there and say anywhere and stuff,
Right.
But, yeah.
But what was that feeling like when you like, oh, I got a number 1 joint now and I'm on the
It
chop.
messed me up. Right. First of all, right, my DJ back then, DJ Super Jam, right, called me up and said, "You need to watch TV right now." Like, huh? I was in the communal and whatnot stuff, right?
Right.
Coming up. That starving artist shit. either way it go, I'm not lying. Right. I turned on the TV, right? And the new #1 hit there. So I'm like, right. And then a lot came with that. Shows, we was like
Yeah, no
200,
doubt. I already
we
know.
had 200 days a year on the road.
Yeah. Yes, trust me. Like I said, me, Scotty, and Pete went on a nice little tour. That I know about them tours in Germany. You understand?
All
Yeah.
right. And but I only just we was killing everywhere. I'm like, I'm going to France.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to here. I'm going to Portugal. You know what I'm saying?
Maine, London, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, word up, man. Oh, we killed it. We did the whole tour of England. Right. It was a trip. There's some funny stories about that too, right? I'm like, I'm in England. Right. But we had a driver that was driving us, right? I was like, excuse me, right? Because we was going through mountains and stuff, right? We had to
Right,
go
right.
through, you know what I mean? Right. And when they drive on a different side of the road. Right. So if you drive through the mountains, right, you're driving to almost
The mountain. Yeah, you
I'm like,
close to
oh
the mountain.
no. I'm like, oh no. No. She was driving, man, like somebody was chasing us. I'm
Right,
like,
right,
oh
right.
no,
Like he on the
no.
Autobahn.
Yeah. No, on the ball, man, I drive that easily.
Right, right, right.
One hand, full
Yeah, that's
throttle. No, the thing is that, right, we have the Autobahn. Everything is, guarded.
right.
But yo, we was going through mountains and stuff, right? She was hitting curves, man.
Yeah,
It was
no
like an
doubt.
inch away, man, from the guardrail. I'm like, oh no, stop this car now.
Yeah.
No, but everything went through. I said, drive slow.
Right, right.
I said, I'll make a phone call right now. Right. I said, no offense, right? But we're supposed to be healthy when we go to a show.
Right.
Make sure everything's together.
No doubt.
I ain't supposed to be looking, man, like Roger, man, out of American Dad going,
So the album went gold and platinum.
yeah.
Explain that feeling.
Wow. Wow. Matter of fact, it was when I got, when I got gold and platinum, there was another artist that was there too. Right, my boy Matt Stump, man, with his group Real to Real. I like to move it, move it.
Right.
That's my boy, right? He won gold that night too. We was at the same record company, so we got pictures like what to do.
Right.
And the feeling is just like, it's funny, right? I'm more than sure that any artist would agree with me, is that you're not in it for the golds and platinums. You're not.
No.
Right?
You in it for the love of the music all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
You
When you get them
understand?
extra accolades, though,
Yeah, would make you feel
it was
good.
like,
Make you feel good about your work. You understand?
there
That's why I
you
was
go.
asking what the feeling was like, because I know it had to be like a rush for you to, you understand? Like when you ain't even expecting to receive an accolade for you just doing it for the love of the work, and then you get this accolade, and you like, wow, yes. I know it had to be fulfilling.
Oh, it was a trip, right? First of all, that type of thing hits you later.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Right. It was like, yeah, go, man, okay, yeah. And this and that. Next day, I'm like, I got a gold record. I got
Wow.
a platinum record. You know what I'm saying? I won the Echo, the European Grammy. Oh, damn.
Right.
But at that moment, it was like numb in a way. You know how it is?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like even good news can be the same as bad news.
Right. It's surreal as they.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what? You know what I'm saying? I woke up the next day. I'm like, I did that. I woke up the next day and I turned over in the hotel. I turned over, right? And look, man, and everything was like, bling. I'm like, hey, I got that. I'm not in it. I was never in it for these accolades.
Exactly.
Let me do my thing and get paid too at the same time. Let's all have fun together.
Right.
But that threw me off, man.
Which is a blessing. Congratulations.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much, bro. Thank you, man.
So you wrote and co-produced the song, you know the names, for German's S. Oliver's Basketball League in 2003 and became
Actually,
the
it was
official song?
2001.
Huh?
Actually, it was 2001, right, when I did it, right, through Bookmark Records, which actually are the original producers of Snap, right? And when I got offered that, I'm like, for real? It was like, yo, we heard about you doing basketball, charity things and stuff, right? You dope with it, right? So put that with some music. I said, you know what? Why not? Right? I did it. A big production, good promotion, and everything behind it. People was good. Right. Once in a while, I do get asked to do halftime.
What's up?
When I get that offer, I bring my children in, front seats, what?
Yeah, most
Courtside seats?
most definitely. We're gonna take advantage of the opportunity.
No, for sure.
So you that's the German professional basketball league that you work.
Yeah, it's called the BBL, Basketball Bundesliga.
All right, that's what's up.
Yes.
That's what's up. And Here We Come was one of the songs for the Frankfurt Galaxy
Yeah, that was
and
back
Europe
then with
NFL
Europe.
team.
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
Oh, that was good. The thing is that, right, I knew a couple of people that was in the NFL, a couple of coaches and referees, because I also used to referee. But for the military, right? Basketball, football, box, right?
You're a jack
And
of all trades.
and right, yeah, right? And the master of something.
Yeah. That's what I was to say.
Yeah, all right.
Uh-huh.
Right across the street from where I was living at, right, was a dude. I didn't even know he was a referee, right? And then when I met up with him, I'm like, I've seen you before. Right. And then come to find out, right, he's refereed some of the games, right? So we talked this and that and other and stuff, right? It came from a lot of sides. You know what I'm saying? Right. But the one that stuck was the one from what's his name again? His name is Paul. Right, because back then I was working together with Simon Collins, Phil Collins' son, doing productions. And he was his engineer. And I had my studio in the same building in Logic Records, with a lot of big hits. The biggest hits of all time has been producing that spot.
So Simon was the engineer or?
No. Simon Collins, I had owned the studio at that time.
Okay.
But the guy named Paul, I forgot his last name, it didn't come to me, was doing engineering together for him. Right. And my studio was downstairs. Right. You know how I go, you can't miss each other.
Right. No doubt. You used to cross paths in that studio.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
And so what we did, right, and when that happened, right, I ran into Simon. Mina, that's my boy. Simon Collins, Phil Collins' son. Simon, that's my boy with his hard-headed self. But then I started getting into more projects. So that means along with the Frankfurt Galaxy project, right, I didn't rap. I spoke on his albums, the second album, Time of Truth, right? And through all that working we did together, right, he's like, yo, I got a project. Paul, I got a project. I'm like, okay, what you got? He was like, yo, for the Frankfurt Galaxy, I'm already in. I'm already in. What's up? You know what I'm saying? I already had a song, right, because of other people, like I said before, that I had produced for the Frankfurt Galaxy. Right? It never went nowhere. So, I put that on, in the archives. And then after that, right, he came to me about that, right? I'm like, look, this something I already did. So he got in there and worked it with me and stuff where we even had the cheerleaders in there, the football players in there. I got an official jersey right in my bedroom.
Wow.
My jersey, though.
Wow.
My name. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Respect. I had a good time.
That's what's up.
We used to do the power parties, halftime, all that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And can the audience find this footage anywhere? Like I have put some of your videos on Brat Life TV's playlist page for any in the audience who wanted to go see some of the videos that AK Swift, Snap, D-Ski, all Brats.
Right.
I have their videos on the playlist. Check it out. But yeah, so is it any other platform that they can find your performances or your videos on?
Well, I'm still building up my platform even more right now because I'll come out with a podcast in May.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm scanning all pictures that I got or whatever. Right. And then still looking for footage, me doing the show here, or just me walking by somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Everything counts.
No doubt.
And so I still got videotapes of stuff. Now I got to go up there and digitize that. Luckily, I have the equipment to do it. Missing like this cable, that cable. That's gonna be rectified next week.
Right.
But all of it right now, because I've been in contact because of being on tour with Snap. Right. That I still see all the artists. We know each other. 30-something plus years, stuff sort of works out for me. It makes it a little bit easier for me to be able to get this content.
That's what's up. Yeah, and most definitely, you know, I definitely want to come on your show and get an
Oh, for
opportunity.
sure, man. I got you.
Yeah, most definitely. So who's who's the three most influential people in your life, and how did they impact you
As far as the music,
as far as your life?
wow, man, that's a long list. But no, not a long list, but 10 is enough. But you know, my first influence is definitely, without a doubt, my father.
Mm,
Right? Because it's like, man, some people was like, no, he need to do this. My dad said, leave him alone. He
right,
got this.
right.
Including family and whatnot. Number one hero, always. You know, now to go to the music, right? My father actually played the violin too. So he used to play hoop. You know what I'm saying? So, right, that was already in, right? But then when it comes to the music, first was Curtis Blow. I actually toured with him too.
Mm.
Right? And then
Yeah, Curtis Blow stayed over Germany.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
yeah.
stayed opening up for Curtis.
We did some thing and stuff, right? Some shows and stuff, right? His show's no joke. You know, he's on stage with his sons, right? Sons got him. And with the DJ, right, he's no joke.
Yeah,
He
man,
said,
listen,
really, his show is good.
listen.
Surprisingly, I didn't expect it.
Came back here, and him and you know, I'm friends with Linda, who works with Dougie, and
Mm-hmm.
Dougie was performing one night. We leave the hotel to go see Dougie perform. We go stage, and Curtis Blow up there performing too. And this man started breakdancing on stage, bro. And you know, he still got it. He windmilling, all that. I'm like, wow, cuz can still get it in. Yo, he started breakdancing in the middle of the show, yo. It blew me. I was
Yeah, I
like,
was
wow.
messing with him one time, right? I'm like, you're 300 years old, man. Sit your butt down. Even though I know I do it too. I can still break dance.
Right. I mean,
You
I
know what
can
I'm
still
saying?
do some
But you know, I had
moves.
to mess with him, right? Because you know I could do it too. You know, so
Right.
I'm, talking
Right. I
stuff
can
with him.
still do
He
some
taking
moves, but
pictures
I
with
can't
my
get them all.
kids, chilling.
Yeah. So
Word up. But
so what
Ice Cube,
yeah.
hardcore because I like to talk shit, but I need to keep it honest when I do that, right? And during that time, nobody did like Ice Cube did.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's more, Scarface, it's my
Yes.
boy.
Ghetto
Public
Boys
Enemy
definitely
is
was
definitely my people.
yeah, Ghetto Boys. But I gotta take my hat off to Cube too. Shout out to Cube. You know, I went on a little
My
tour with
man.
Cube and Black Sheep and Dale the Funky Homo Sapien, which is Cube cousin.
Yeah, that's his cousin.
Yeah, that's his cousin, right. And
Yeah,
Stanley his cousin. You understand?
right.
Truth of the matter, Cube wanted to sign me, but I ain't want to go to LA. I messed that move up. But
Oh, we both.
yeah, I messed
But
that
not
money up.
with him, but you know what we're talking about.
The most important lesson you learn in life in the music business.
Most important, keep it personal.
Mm,
Shut up. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? No matter how much control do you have over your life, if you talk too much, it's gonna get you.
mm.
Shut up. Serious. Pride can get you.
Yeah, you're right. The
You
pride
know what I'm
comes before the
saying?
fall.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm called AK for a reason. I'm supposed to try by it. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna see it coming. I'm like
Yeah,
TQ.
okay.
They never saw it
Okay.
coming.
That was a nice one right there.
All
Okay.
right. For
I see
sure.
you still working with them lyrics.
Oh,
AK,
I
you
ain't
drive
playing,
by?
man.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Straight up. You got to be, you know what I'm saying? I'm called AK for a reason. I better use it.
I know that's right.
You know? And that as far as me in the music business. Now, as far as me in life, same thing. Protect your own self-interest. If you can't have peace, you're done. You know what I'm saying? Right? Because nobody wants to always hear negative songs. Somebody, I'm mad.
Right.
No, you want to balance that stuff off. I mean, LL Cool J is one of the people, man, that did it the best. Right? It came out when I'm bad, I'm this, I'm that, and after that, he said, "I need love."
Yeah, he had a wide range.
You
And
know what I
like
mean?
when me and Scotty was talking to this last episode, you know, it's about imagination, about putting more into the song than you know, man, I'm so burnt out with this music that's out here today, man, because
Yeah, right.
it's the same content. You know, they don't try to go outside the box and try to make good music. You know, they just making, sex me, drug me. I'm not with this content that they got going on right now.
Yeah, that's why, man, the chosen few that's out there, J. Cole,
Yes.
Kendrick Lamar, man, I get with them in a minute.
Yeah, J.
Salute.
Cole, Kendrick.
Salute. And I was on that before that, Not Like Us and everything came out.
Yeah. Before that, that has nothing to do with
way
me saying
before
Kendrick.
that, right? Black Panther soundtrack, for example, right? Kendrick was killing on them tracks.
Exactly. And see, but what I'm saying is the imagination. Like if you listen to that last album, not the album that he just dropped with the Not Like Us, I'm talking about the last album, and look at the range of songs that he had on there and different, it's just different feel. J. Cole, he always got something to give you a brain, make you think a little bit. Yeah, make you be like, oh man.
It actually makes you use your head.
Right.
Really.
Or it should inspire other MCs to be like, man, I could do a better song, or I could do a song similar to that, but now they just so everything is, I'm at the club, I got some money, I'm at the mall, I got the car, I got the house.
Sex, take drugs, sex, take drugs, sex.
It's a blow.
Come on, man.
So if you could tell your 18-year-old self some advice, what would you say?
Oh, damn, you don't want to hear that.
Yes, I do.
No, I'm kidding. No, it's that there's only like two things that I would change. Wait a little bit longer before you make that choice. Better said, wait a little bit longer before you make that choice, right? Because seeing it now, I could have actually got more from myself as a human being and an artist before I made that choice. Even though the choice I made, right? You know what I'm saying? I was married twice, meaning I'm divorced twice, right? If I waited a little bit longer, I would have still done it though. But I would have been more prepared for it. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I look at that, right? Because what's in my house dictates also how I leave it, right? And all sides didn't have a balance whatsoever at the end of the day, which that's how it usually ends, but everybody's still friendly, everything's still good and stuff. It's that coulda, woulda, shoulda. Nobody wants to go through that, man, actually, right? Everybody wants to be very smart about their decisions, right? Because inside of that was also me being an artist. So I had to, once in a while, both sides was compromised.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. See what I'm saying? But sometimes it's unavoidable. It's not always your fault. You know what I mean? But I would just wait a little bit longer. Right? Take care of my stuff, man. It's me already being who I am. And then from there, going from.
And the last,
you never know what would have happened, man. You never know what would have happened.
Last question. Yeah. What does it mean to you to be a brat?
I love every thought, every action, everything about that. Right? Because I think about what would I have been if I'd have still stayed in the hood.
That part.
See what I'm saying? Right? And let me tell you something, it brought a lot to me, right? Come on now. The same people I was around, I ended up being around later as a brat. Right? They made it famous, or I made it famous, and we helped each other out too in the process. Wow. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Seriously, everybody, man, Floor Master, Steve Ski, everybody breaking with style. We had a breakdance group too, together, breaking with style. The DJing. We was going to clubs at young age, child. This
man,
is
what? You ain't got to tell me.
I ain't going to tell you nothing.
Yes, what? Man. 14, 13, we up in the club. Yes, man.
Like, what? 14 in the club?
Hey, listen. I remember one night I'm in the club standing in front of the DJ booth. I'm standing in front of the DJ booth because I could see who all coming in the front door. And who I see come through the front door, my father. I said,
my dad was saying, oh, go ahead, man.
I said, let me go get this over with.
I got something for you, too.
Let me go get this over with early. I went over there and let them see me. You ain't got nothing to say, I ain't got nothing to say. But meanwhile, let me go over here and let you see me. You understand? Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you something. I was in the club. It was called Upstairs, Downstairs. No. Yeah, Upstairs, Downstairs. And there was another club, Larry's the Inn. That was my spot. Rest in peace, Larry. right? And I was in the club, well, I was 15 maybe, right? Yeah, because we had just had a football game. We won that mug, so we was going out with our jerseys on. You know how I
Right,
go.
right, right,
Right,
right.
went to the club, man. And I'm in the club, right? Don't forget my father's in the MP, so you know how MPs do. Right,
Right.
certain, yeah, right, they go and roam the areas where the soldiers go at and stuff. I
Exactly.
was sitting up there with my girlfriend, right, and then my dad walks in. And my dad is a smooth talker. He's chill. Rest in peace, Pops.
Rest in
Right,
peace.
he's a chill
R.I.P.
dude. He's a chill dude. Let me tell you something, man. He walked in, he turned around, he saw me and my girlfriend. I'm like, oh shit. I know I did nothing wrong, but I'm like, who did something wrong in here?
Right, right, right.
Right? But you know, they was just checking.
Right, right.
Right. But somebody had started a fight outside and ran back in the club and got,
They
you
keeping
know,
the peace. They just keeping the peace. Right.
right. My dad walked in there, man, with the other MPs, and he has a cool, smooth voice. He's like, what's up, son? He said, that's all he did. I went
Right.
right over there. I'm about to grab my girlfriend. I went right over the corner. My dad said, hello, and he went like this, right? The DJ man cut off the music. He said, hello, everybody. Easy way or the hard way. Them bugs walked out.
Right. Easy way. We taking the easy way. You know what I'm saying? You want the
Right,
stairs?
right. And then after that, go ahead, go
Yeah.
ahead, man. Straight up. Because guess what? After that, my dad was walking back with me. Everybody walked out. The other MPs, man, with the people walked out, right? He turned around, looked at me, and said, see you at home, son. Have a good time.
Wow.
Wow. Traumatized. I'm
Yeah.
like, are they gonna get a whooping like I used to get?
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, my dad
Man,
was
I ain't
cool.
gonna lie. I used to be up in them clubs. Then I started DJing in the club, this club called the Harlem's, when I was like in the
That's in the
10th
Nuremberg
grade.
area, wasn't it?
Huh?
Or Nuremberg?
Up in
Isn't that
Nuremberg. Yeah, in the
I
10th
remember that
grade.
spot. I break dance there once or twice.
Yeah, yeah. In the 10th grade, I would start DJing in that joint. Man, they kept trying to fire me because we kept fighting in that joint.
That was me and the Funkadelic. I had to show hands on that piece, man, for a minute. Because I pretty much did every job in there. I was a relief DJ. I was never a main DJ. Later, years later, in a new location, I was a main DJ for a little bit. But there, I was always a relief DJ.
Right,
You know, Angie B, man, she was doing house, right? You know, I relieved her, man. Lady D, DJ Super Jam, right? Because we was all crew back then.
right. See,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
had
So,
started out as a relief DJ, but then I kept the crowd coming. You understand? Because
right.
but I'm bringing everybody from Nuremberg into from the high school into the club. Then you got
Yeah, right.
PI. So I kind of like took his spot. It was an African dude up in there, and I kind of like took his spot. So he was relieving me after that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it happens. I didn't want that to begin with. I had too much shit going on as it was anyway, right? Because right next door to the Funkadelic was the studio I was working out of,
Right, right,
right? You know, doing vocals with, you know, my first couple of releases and everything like that, which ended up being connected to the Magic Affair, right? So I get out of there, right? And I go right into the club. What to do, y'all?
right,
Right? I'll do relief DJ stuff, right?
right, right, right.
Back then in the Funkadelic. Then when they relocated at 2 spots after that, let me not lie. It'll come to me, right? They was like way away. A lot of people was not coming no more, right? Then they moved back to Frankfurt just a couple of streets down, right? It used to be an Irish bar. And that's when I started doing main DJ stuff, right? But I didn't do it that long. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of things that was going on, right? So it was like, look, you know, it's cool to be here and everything like that, right? But I get paid, man. That's AK Swift just doing the show. 6 hours, I ain't got no problem doing that, right? But you know what I get in 6 hours, right? I get 5 times that, man. 30 minutes out, right? I had to look at it that way. So I had to take care of my brain,
Exactly.
and I was still doing it, right? And they had a dope location too, with a garden men for barbecue and all that stuff, right? Restaurant stuff. It was nice. Peace out to Cam Saka, right, man, because you held it down for black music over here in Germany. Definitely coming out of Frankfurt, because Frankfurt is definitely the original area that brought all of our music worldwide.
Yeah, it's
From this
the Mecca,
area.
it's the Mecca, like It's the baby New York,
Yeah.
like I always said. But we got to get ready to go. But before we get up out of here,
Yeah.
I want to take time. There's a lot of brats that passed before us.
Yes.
You understand? I know you
Yeah.
got some that you miss. I know I got some that I miss. So on this show, I like to take time to give them a moment of silence. So we're gonna take time right now to give them a moment of silence.
Salute, my man.
I want to thank today's Mr. A.K. Swift himself. You understand? Thank you for coming out. Can you introduce your social media platforms?
Yeah, I'm gonna get at you in a minute about that. Yeah,
Okay.
give me about a week, right? Because I'm scanning photos, this and that other. I have a lot of photos, right? And lately, a couple of this been posted. Check my Facebook, and you'll know.
What's your
see it.
Facebook?
AK Swift,
Okay.
and also my real name.
Okay.
Right, it's easy to find.
And your Instagram?
Instagram AKSWIFT47.
Well, I definitely thank you for coming out. And what we do on this show is, I know other people give out other things, but this is Brat Life TV, so we give out Star Spangled banners. You understand? So I'll be making sure I send that banner out to you in Germany, so you can have something else to put on your wall. You understand? From Brat Life TV.
For sure. Good looking.
I really appreciate you coming out. And like you said, we'll probably have to do a second to get more in depth.
Second episode, man, because you know that every twins are gonna come in, man.
Yeah, most deaf. Most deaf. And like I said, thank you for coming out. Thank you for being on the show. You know, holding it down in Germany still, over there in Germany.
Man.
To my brats, tune in. Same brat channel, same brat time. Until then, peace.
Peace. We out.